Hello there you guys, welcome to one of my videos. Ralf Rangnick has confirmed in his press conference ahead of Manchester United's game against Young Boys that Chris Armas and Sascha will be joining his coaching staff. Chris Armas will be the assistant manager and Sascha will be a sports psychologist. So just wanted to give you the breaking news on that. Recently, Ralf Rangnick won his first game in charge of Manchester United because Manchester United beat Crystal Palace 1-0. Ralf Rangnick is Manchester United's interim manager until the end of the season. Then after that, Rangnick will take a consultancy role for a further 2 years. Rangnick has been given a 100 million transfer budget for January. Rangnick wants Amadou Haidara as his first signing as Manchester United manager. Amadou Haidara has a £33 million release clause. Revert back to last week, the Manchester Evening News said that Rangnick wants a Timo Werner reunion at Man United. And there's a few other players he wants. Before Manchester United, Rangnick was the head of sports and development at Lokomotiv Moscow. I have been hearing that Ralf Rangnick would be interested in taking the Manchester United job on a permanent basis. I think Rangnick could win a trophy or two at Manchester United. I can assure that Manchester United will get a permanent manager at the end of the season. There's been quite a few names linked with the permanent role at Man United. Pochettino was spoken about. Pochettino has said a few times that he's happy at PSG. And he did mention that he won't let the Man United rumours distract him. Revert back to the other week, it said PSG rejected Manchester United's approach to appoint Mauricio Pochettino. But revert back to a couple of weeks ago now, there was reports coming out saying that Pochettino is interested in the Manchester United job. And the Manchester Evening News came out and said that Man United are confident of appointing Mauricio Pochettino as the next permanent manager. And he said Manchester United agreed to pay the 10 million compensation fee for Pochettino. Revert back to when Manchester United sacked Jose Mourinho, Man United should have got Pochettino then. But the club decided to go with Solskjaer instead. He is a good manager, Pochettino, despite him hardly winning anything. I think he has won a French Cup with PSG. He's got a full season left on his PSG contract. He's proven in the Premier League as well, which is beneficial, because before Pochettino managed Tottenham and before he managed Southampton. Revert back to last week, Roberto Mancini was mentioned. It said Manchester United consider hiring Roberto Mancini instead of Mauricio Pochettino. Roberto Mancini is in charge of Italy. He's been in charge of Italy since 2018. He's got a contract with Italy until 2026. Revert back to last summer, he won the European Championship with Italy. Around a decade ago, Roberto Mancini managed Manchester City. When he was the manager of Man City, he won the Premier League, the FA Cup and the Charity Shield. Couple of weeks ago, Erik ten Hag was also mentioned. He's currently the Ajax manager, and Brendan Rodgers has been mentioned before. I initially disregarded Brendan Rodgers because revert back to earlier on this season, Brendan Rodgers dismissed links to the Man United job. He said he was proud to be at Leicester. Man United did make contact with Brendan Rodgers at one point. At one point, it said Rodgers was house hunting in Cheshire, and that stirred some suggestions up. And at that point, it said Rodgers was the favourite to replace Ole Gunnar Solskjaer at Man United. You know, Manchester United have sacked 4 permanent managers since Ferguson. You know, Man United sacked David Moyes, sacked Louis van Gaal, sacked Jose Mourinho, and just over 2 weeks ago, Manchester United sacked Solskjaer following the 4-1 defeat to Watford. But Manchester United look a much better team now. You know, like I said earlier on, Ralph Rangnick won his first game in charge. Carrick did well as well. You know, Carrick was the interim manager for 3 games. You know, he won 2 games and he drew 1. Obviously, after the 3-2 win against Arsenal, Michael Carrick stepped down as Manchester United's first team coach. Now, Manchester United are going to offload players next year. I definitely think Martial will be leaving the club next year. You know, Martial doesn't really get in the team, does he? He just come back from injury not so long ago. Martial's no longer good enough to represent the club. He's only enjoyed 1 good season at Man United, and that was his debut season under the Louis van Gaal era. The last game Martial played was the 2-0 win against Villarreal. He surprisingly started on the left-hand side. Martial's been at Manchester United for 6.5 years. He's got 3 years left on his contract. Man United got Martial in a deal worth 58 million from Monaco back in 2015. Cavani, I think he's also leaving the football club next year. Cavani has said that he's interested in making a move to Barcelona next year. Well, hopefully we can sell him in January so we can cash in for him. Because Cavani's contract at Man United expires next summer. Revert back to May, Cavani signed a 1-year contract extension. Cavani initially lost his place in the team with the club re-signing Ronaldo last summer. Manchester United got Cavani on a free transfer from PSG. This season is Cavani's 2nd full season at Man United. I can assure that Lingard's leaving next year. I'm hearing that Newcastle want Lingard. Revert back to a couple of weeks ago now. He said West Ham were interested in re-signing Lingard. Well, at the second half of last season, Lingard enjoyed a 4-month loan spell with West Ham and he made an impact. And I heard as well that he's interested in going abroad. Lingard doesn't really get in our team. As far as I'm aware, he's only made 1 start this season. That was West Ham in the Carabao Cup. Revert back to the other week though, the BBC reported that Jesse Lingard's future at Man United is in doubt after talks over a new contract collapsed. Lingard's current contract at Man United expires next summer. I'm hoping we can sell him in January and cash in for him. I reckon if we sell him in January, we can get around £10 million for him. Lingard's been part of the club for a long time, hasn't he? You know, risen up our academy, he's had his good periods at Man United, he's also enjoyed his bad periods. Juan Mata, I think he's leaving the club next year. Hopefully we can sell him in January so we can cash in for him, because Mata's contract at Man United expires next summer. Revert back to earlier on this year, Juan Mata signed a 1-year contract extension. I can't understand why we extended his contract for a further year, because Mata doesn't get in the team and he's lost that yard of pace and he's aging up. Mata will be in contention to play against Young Boys tomorrow night. Mata's had a good career though at Man United. He's made over 200 appearances in all competitions and he's scored over 50 goals. He's been at Manchester United for 7.5 years now, so he's been a long-serving player. Man United got Juan Mata from Chelsea back in 2014 for 40 million. So we brought him in under the David Moyes era. There's a very good chance that Donny van de Beek will be leaving the club in January. The only way we can persuade Van der Beek to stay is if he gets the opportunities he's been demanding under Ralph Rangnick. Because revert back to the Solskjaer era, you know, Van der Beek did not get nowhere near enough opportunities, and reflecting on that, Van der Beek was very, very frustrated. Van der Beek didn't start against Crystal Palace recently, but he did come on. Towards the end of Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's managerial tenure, Van der Beek did confirm that he wants to leave Man United. He's only scored 2 goals for the club and he's been at Manchester United for over a year and a half now. You know, Man United got Van der Beek from Ajax. You know, Man United got him for 40 million with add-ons included. He's got a contract with the club till 2025. There's also an option of a further year. And Van der Beek's versatile, he can play in 3 different roles. Nemanja Matic, you know, I think there's a good chance that he'll be leaving next year. Matic isn't one of our first choice midfielders, but despite that, he still seems to get his opportunities. And surprisingly enough, he's been ahead of Van der Beek in our midfield. Matic is the only predominant centre defensive mid that Man United have got. Matic has been at Manchester United for 4.5 years. Man United got Matic from Chelsea back in 2017 for around £40 million. Matic is in contention though to play in tonight's game. Tomorrow night's game, against Young Boys. I think it will be him alongside Van der Beek in centre midfield. You know, Pogba could leave next year. Phil Jones, I think he's leaving the club next year. Phil Jones doesn't get in the team, does he? And I'd say Jones has always been inconsistent. Did you know that Jones is the only outfield player that's still with us from the Ferguson era? This season is his 11th season at Man United, so he's been a very long-serving player. At one point, Jones was out with a knee injury for a while. Jones, he's not going to be playing any part tomorrow night against Young Boys. That's already been confirmed. Eric Bailly, he'll be leaving next year because Bailly doesn't get regular game time, does he? Bailly's only made 4 appearances so far this season. The last game Bailly played was the 1-1 draw with Chelsea at Stamford Bridge, and Bailly was very good in that game, but the only reason he played in that game against Chelsea because Maguire was suspended. Eric Bailly lost his place in the team a while ago, obviously with the club signing Varane last summer, and obviously Lindelof's been preferred to Bailly for some reason. I don't know why, because Bailly is a far superior centre-half to Lindelof. Bailly's in contention though to play tomorrow night against Young Boys. Towards the end of last season, don't forget, Bailly signed a new contract with Man United until 2024. There's an option of a further year. You know, Bailly's been at Man United for around 5.5 years now. Man United got Bailly from Villarreal back in 2016 for 30 million. Dean Henderson, he's already confirmed that he wants a loan move away from Man United next year. You know, Henderson doesn't get in goal, does he? Because revert back to last summer, De Gea reclaimed that number one spot back. Henderson's only been in goal for one game so far this season. That was West Ham in the Carabao Cup. Henderson is likely to be in goal for the game against Young Boys tomorrow night. Revert back to earlier on this season, Henderson had COVID for a while. But at one point last season, Henderson got that number one jersey and he did well in a lot of the games he was in goal for last season. Before the start of last season, Henderson signed a 6-year contract with Man United, so reflecting on that, he committed his future to the club. And our second choice fullbacks could possibly leave next year, because obviously Dalot only gets in the team when Bissaka's not available, and obviously Tellez only gets chances, you know, when Luke Shaw's not available. Obviously Dalot, you know, he's played in our last 2 games, and he's been very impressive, to be fair. I hope he can start against Young Boys tomorrow night. Dalot started against Arsenal last week because Wan-Bissaka had a hand injury. Last season, Dalot had a loan spell with AC Milan, and reflecting on that, he gained some experience. Man United got Diego Dalot 3 years ago from Porto. Man United paid around 19 million, and Alex Tellez, you know, he started Manchester United's last 4 games, is it, in all competitions, and he's been very, very impressive. He's undroppable at the moment, is Tellez. Earlier on this season, Tellez had an injury. Manchester United got Tellez for 15.4 million from Porto last year. The reason Man United brought Tellez in was to provide competition for Luke Shaw. So there you go. But like I say, Manchester United have got very, very good players. And I'm now convinced that we're going to get the best out of these group of players. You know, it was a very good team performance against Crystal Palace. I'm expecting a very good performance against Young Boys, even though Rangnicks going to heavily rotate in the game. I'm expecting a good performance against Norwich at the weekend. You know, we've got winnable games coming up. Revert back to the last few months of Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's managerial tenure. You know, it was obvious that the players were not playing for the manager. You know, the performances were very, very bad in the last few months of Solskjaer's managerial tenure, and the results were bad to go with the poor performances. But look who we've got in the squad. You know, you've got Cavani, that's good. You've got Rashford, that's good overall, but there's aspects of Marcus Rashford's game that's got to improve. You know, Rashford wasn't that good against Crystal Palace recently. His movement was good and he made some good runs in behind at times, but his decision making was very poor. And he wasn't that good against Arsenal last week, but he still managed to get an assist. He didn't do too bad against Chelsea in the second half either. You know, at one point, Rashford was out with a shoulder injury for a while, and at one point he had to have an operation on his shoulder. Let's put that into the equation. You've got Mason Greenwood, that's also a talented player as well. Greenwood came on against Crystal Palace recently and he got the assist for the Fred goal. Greenwood hadn't played for a while because he had COVID-19. You know, Greenwood has scored 4 goals in the league so far this season. He scored a stunning goal in the 4-2 defeat to Leicester earlier on this season. Greenwood's been part of the club for a long time. He's been a United player since the age of 7. He made his senior debut for the club back in 2019, and last season Greenwood signed a new 4-year contract. Jadon Sancho, good player. You know, he's done really, really well recently. You know, Sancho was very good in the first half against Palace, but faded away in the second half. Weren't that bad against Arsenal. He was very good against Chelsea and Villarreal because he scored in both of them games. Sancho has scored 2 goals for the club so far. But it's good now that Sancho is starting to settle in, because he did enjoy a bad start to his Man United career, didn't he? But revert back to when we had Solskjaer, we weren't getting the best out of Sancho because Solskjaer was persistently playing Sancho out of position. And there again, there was quite a few games Sancho didn't even play in under Solskjaer. You know, Sancho did enjoy 4 good years at Dortmund before he came to Man United. You know, Man United got Sancho for 78 million with add-ons included. Man United paid around 73 million up front. Sancho's got a contract with Man United till June 2026 as an option of a further year. And obviously Manchester United have got the best player in the world overall in Cristiano Ronaldo. Ronaldo played against Palace recently. He had chances, but unfortunately he couldn't convert them. In periods of that game against Palace, Ronaldo was anonymous. He was a doubt for the game against Crystal Palace, wasn't he? Because reports were saying prior to the game that Ronaldo suffered a knee issue when he was celebrating in the 3-2 win against Arsenal. Of course, Ronaldo got a brace against Arsenal, including the winner from the penalty. Ronaldo now has 801 goals in his career, and he's got 12 goals for Manchester United in all competitions since he re-signed. You know, you've got Bruno Fernandez, that's also an exceptional player as well. Despite him being an exceptional player overall, he has had poor games this season. You know, Fernandez played against Palace recently. The chances were there, but he couldn't convert them, just like Ronaldo couldn't against Palace. Fernandez did well against Arsenal because he scored, didn't he, against Arsenal. The build-up to the Fernandez goal against Arsenal was very good. Fred, he's really impressed me recently. Fred's done well in his last 3 games. You know, he played very well against Palace. You know, he scored that stunning goal late on. It wasn't only his goal against Palace why his performance was good. You know, his movement was good. He kept the ball well. He got into very good positions and he played some sublime passes. Fred against Arsenal last week got an assist and he won the penalty because Martin Odegaard brought him down. And Fred did well in the second half against Chelsea. He squandered a chance in that game that came from a mistake from Mendy. You know, Manchester United got Fred for 50 million from Shakhtar Donetsk quite a few years ago now. But yeah, I'm hoping Fred can continue with these good performances because I have heavily criticised Fred before. Donny van der Beek, you know, he's also a good player as well, but like I said, I haven't had a great deal of a perception on him at Manchester United. You know, you've got Telles, that's been in scintillating form recently. You know, Dalot's done well recently, like I mentioned earlier on. You know, you've got Luke Shaw, that's a good left-back overall, but Luke Shaw's certainly not proven how good he can be so far this season. Luke Shaw's been terrible this season when he's been fit, and I'm shocked in that aspect that he's been poor because last season Luke Shaw was absolutely superb. I'm sure at some point that Luke Shaw will regain his form. Maguire, you know, he can be a good centre-half, but he's been inconsistent in a lot of games for Man United. He's been poor in a lot of games this season, and people said obviously he's been worse since he come back from that calf injury. To be fair, Maguire was good against Palace recently, but to be honest, that's the best game he's enjoyed for a long time. Don't forget earlier on in the season, Maguire got sent off against Watford. You know, you've got Eric Bailly, that's a good centre-half. You've got Raphael Varane, that's also a good centre-half as well. haven't had a great deal of a perception on him though, Man United, because he's already endured 2 injuries since he signed. He's out with a hamstring injury at the moment, and revert back to earlier on this season, he was out with a groin injury for a few weeks. You know, Sascha is a good right back defensively, but the attacking side of his game is not so good. The last game Sascha played was Chelsea, and he was poor in that one because his positioning was poor, and obviously he gave the penalty away because he fouled Thiago Silva in the 6-yard box. And you've got David De Gea, that's a very, very good goalkeeper as well. Got to give De Gea credit, he's done really well so far this season. Had very little to do against Palace, was only called into action from long-range efforts. Against Arsenal, he enjoyed the bizarre moment because he went down in the build-up to Emil Smith-Rowe's goal. The reason De Gea went down in the build-up is because Fred stamped on him, but De Gea made some good saves in the game to deny Aubameyang and Gabriel. Did well against Chelsea in the first half as well, you know, made good saves. So there you go. So anyway guys, that's everything to update you with. Drop your comments, likes below on the channel. If you do, consider subscribe as always, and take care. God bless. See you all again very soon.